you dealing with? Chilling like a villain, homie. Did you take in that first track from Jay-Z? Yo, I took it in still. The track sounds stupid. Yo, word. Alright, well, did anyone understand anything that I just said? If you didn't, I'll rephrase it for you. Hey friend, how are you? I'm good, just hanging out. Did you listen to that new Jay-Z song? Yes, I did listen to that new Jay-Z song. It sounds really good. Yeah, I agree with you. So the first time I said that dialogue, I used slang. The second time I said that dialogue, I used formal English. Slang is the use of informal vocabulary. There are no social limitations when it comes to slang. Every culture uses slang, every race, and every social class. So just think of slang as a pair of sweatpants. It's casual. You use it when you're just at home or when you're with your friends, but just like sweatpants, slang is not appropriate everywhere. Good afternoon. Today I'll be talking to you about slang. I'm going to start talking with some history to show how it became popular, and then next I'll talk about how slang generates, and finally I'm going to talk about the way in which slang is mediated. So by the end of this speech, hopefully you will be able to recognize that slang is a way of representing which culture you're from. So slang first started in the 16th and 17th century. It was born from the mouths of criminals and cheats, usually in saloons and in gambling houses. And then it began showing up in poetry and in plays. And a major component of why slang became so popular is due to the expansion of the British colonies, because they also used slang. So when they expanded, so did slang. And now in today's culture, we shape and reshape slang in order to adapt our lifestyles. So yes, that's right. We generate slang. For instance, whatever we say in a conversation, whatever words catch on, that becomes a part of our language and a part of our culture. Like if you go to London, a slang term is bubbles. If you say bubbles there, they're not referring to what happens if you take a drink and you put a straw in the drink and you blow into the straw and then like the air bubbles pop up. That's not what they're talking about. Or they're not talking about Michael Jackson's monkey bubbles. They're talking about sneakers, specifically athletic sneakers, the sneakers that have actual air bubbles in them. So you might hear someone from London say, oh, I'm going to go to Foot Locker and pick up some bubbles. But you wouldn't hear that in Canada, because although slang is universal and is used in every culture, it symbolizes and represents specific cultures. So that symbolizes London's culture. Just as the way it's generated and the terms used symbolize culture, the way slang is mediated also represents which culture you come from. Like LOL. Everyone has used the word LOL. You probably have used it in a text message or MSN, Twitter, Facebook, but hopefully you didn't say it in a real face-to-face conversation, because you should be laughing out loud. But the fact that you wouldn't say it in a face-to-face conversation shows that you belong to a culture that uses technology to communicate through text. Again, representing which culture you come from. So slang is a way of characterizing your language to represent who you are and where you come from. It's the language you don't use in writing formal essays for school, but it is your casual conversation. It represents where you come from and your culture. Just think of slang as the poetry of life.